All right, good afternoon, everyone. I just love this picture. There's a lot of talk about technology and how it's disrupting the industry and what's going to make our restaurants do, but we are firm believers that this is for good. There's going to be a lot of change over the next years, and we believe that technology will play a very big part of that. I think actually up till now, there's almost been like two different verticals. One was technology, and another was operations or restaurants. We actually see a future where those two merge together. So what I'm going to talk to you about is our experience. We're one of the world's largest restaurant design companies, active pretty much all over the world. Work with private equity in turning around brands and transforming them. Work with many of you in the room. It's really cool to see so many friends in the audience. We work with many of the biggest brands out there, and our designs have been deployed in over 13,000 restaurants across the globe. So we should have learned a thing or two, I hope. And my objective here is to share. Normally, a lot of our customers come to us for restaurant design, but what is really important is what's under the surface, is really all the things that really transform a brand and make brands profitable. And today I'm going to focus on just a little tiny piece of what we do, which is technology. And hopefully I can share some of our learnings with you. And hopefully those learnings I think that you can take with you and have as actionable insights to your restaurants, to your investments, and to your operations. So this is me and my wife. We live in Sweden. I don't know what happened, born in Madrid and then ended up there. But family loves it. Why is it relevant? It's relevant because Sweden has been named the second most innovative country in the world. So it's the new Silicon Valley of Europe. And by being there, we have, over this 20 years that we've been doing this, constantly tried to push our clients to innovate. And we always try to be at the forefront of technology, be at the forefront of innovation. But over many times and years, they say, hey, well, that's really cool. Who's done it before? Well, no one's done it before. That's what it's called innovation. And the answer was often, well, then I'd like someone else to try it. So actually what we said is, all right, now that we understand what the buzz is about, and we saw this slide earlier today, and what to me is fascinating is not the left side of the screen, it's actually the right side of the screen. The fact that Domino's was really out there. The first mobile phone ordering was in 2011. So a lot of brands are implementing this today, 7 years later. So it's about what they did, but when they did it. The fact that they were out there, that they were pioneers. And that's a bit of my message to you today, that the future is now. There's so many things that are already available that you can implement into your restaurants and get instant results. So the insight we have is that we are in a time where experiences trump things. A lot of our customers are actually willing to pay for experiences beyond or even more than buying things. And we need to rethink our restaurants. Our restaurants are that gathering place to socializing. It was the new social media, someone said earlier this morning. So this is the insight. And with this insight, we came up with a challenge. So if all our customers are not willing to innovate, let's do it ourselves. So our challenge was, what if we were to create a restaurant where the whole guest experience and the operational efficiency was powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning? So with that, we created a brief. And the brief was the following. We wanted to have Michelin star food, something that traditionally has been very difficult to execute at speed and affordability. We wanted to have it in a fine dining environment. We also wanted to have high throughput. We envy QSR. We want to have high throughput. We have a high transaction capacity. At the same time, we wanted to have a really tight footprint, a reduced CapEx. We wanted staff without previous restaurant experience. No one in the restaurant should have worked in a restaurant before. And at the same time, we wanted to reduce the cost of labor. We wanted operational efficiency, but also a lot of staff flexibility. And ultimately, we wanted a seamless guest experience. and we wanted profitability in high cost margin. We decided to open this in Stockholm, which I believe is like the second most expensive market in the world after Norway. And yes, it is a letter to Santa Claus. But being in Sweden, we happen to have some connections. He's our neighbor. So actually, this is the outcome. We've now been up and running for over a year. We have Marco as a Michelin star chef. We have a lot of what we call fast wine touch points, everything from plate warmers to marbles to velvets. We do a transaction every 30 seconds with this Michelin star food, and it takes less than 4 minutes. We're actually averaging 3.5 minutes from the moment you order to you have your food, your drink, and have paid. It's very efficient. We have 145 seats and 290 square meters, so almost no back of house. We created the whole restaurant in Spain. As Enrique was saying, we had a crisis. It's cheaper to build in Spain than it is in Sweden, for sure. The whole restaurant was shipped in a container and mounted on site in Stockholm. We only hire students as team members. And we have no chefs, no cooks in the restaurant. There's no salt, no ingredients, no cooking happens in the restaurant. We measure efficiency, so guests per labor hour is our most important KPI. We're averaging over 5 guests per labor hour, and that's including all labor, dishwash, everything. All our stations are cross-trained, and we've done a lot of menu engineering, so all the products take exact the same amount of cook time, 1 minute, 50 seconds. At the same time, we've done this through an AI-driven environment, and with the labor cost that we have in Sweden, we still managed to have a 30% EBITDA. So Santa was really good to us. He really delivered. And it's become viral. Everyone's talked about it. I've been giving conferences around the world about this. We've been named, is this the Amazon Go of restaurants? Because a lot of people talk about artificial intelligence, but not a lot of people can really show what we're doing. And this is what it looks like. So it's a fine dining environment where you can get your food in 3.5 minutes in a really nice ambiance. And at the same time, what you could get is, a high throughput. We average 18 minutes on total dwell time from the moment a guest comes in for lunch and leaves the restaurant, and still have a proper meal in a nice environment. So what we do is we measure everything. And when I say everything, is everything. So consumers don't know that we use this restaurant as a lab. For everyone walking in, it's just a restaurant. There's no hardware between the brand and the guest. So everything we do is measuring in the background. So MAC addresses, Bluetooth beacon, heat mapping. We pack the site with sensors. But consumers don't know it. We actually had the pleasure of hosting Gretel and 30 other female entrepreneurs from the food and beverage industry. And most of them said it was the best pizza experience they've ever had. So I take that as a compliment. But not only do we measure everything, but we also track everything. So in real time, we know how many customers are in the store, where they sit, where they prefer to move around the store. We match that with calendar data, events, when it's payday, non-repeat events, when do cruise ships arrive to town, is there a concert in town? What are all the things that could impact our sales in order to do predictive analysis and real-time changes to the environment of the restaurant? So we know how many customers pass by the street, how many of them walk in our restaurant, how many have been through the restaurant before. We measured 1.8 million transactions, and we've done over 2,000 in-store interviews to understand what the experience really means. We've used eye tracking technology to understand what guests really look at with Google Glasses. We try to gather as much data as possible. Why now and why artificial intelligence? Because not until now we had the computing power of taking so many inputs and mixing them into outputs. So basically, it's like a matrix. We can say, okay, tomorrow it's Friday, it's 5 days since payday, there's a concert in town, it's going to rain, there is a holiday the next day, whatever all those metrics are, match them with what's happening in the store and do projections for the next days. So one of the things we'd started working on is understanding who's my guest. So we now have the technology to be able to track every single phone that walks into a restaurant. It could be our own restaurant or any of your restaurants. We track those phones to where they live and where they work. And that gives us not only an understanding of the consumer demographic, but also the locations. What you see to the left is a travel journey. So we did this benchmark, and these are real numbers. So we did this benchmark in California. So Intelligentsia Coffee, Shake Shack, Starbucks, and Sweet Greens, we have a theory that they share the same customer, but we didn't know. So we tracked them. And we got the understanding of, to the left of the column is the mosaic profiles, that they actually share the same customer. What we can also get here is how long are they willing to drive to their experience or walk to their experience, and how long time are they sitting in traffic to get there. What we do with that is we do development mapping, so every dot is a customer. Not any customer, our customer, the customer that we are interested in for our brand. And this gives us the ability to understand where we have density. But the beauty is not only understanding where your customer is, but where is your customer at what day part. So what we can do is that we can analyze, in blue, you see residential demographics. So where do our customers live? If we want to have a concept that is 50% lunch day part or 50% dinner day part, we can understand, depending on locations, where should we put our concept to capture the best of both worlds. We know that for lunch, they might be willing to walk 5 minutes, but for dinner, the driving time is 15 minutes, and we can overlap that. At the same time, we can have real-time tracking on phones. So this is an example from downtown LA, where we could think that we could capture more of the market that we're actually capturing, and we can see that we're going way beyond south and we should be more north. So trying to get some of the guesswork out of the development analysis. We measure experience, NPS, a lot in the restaurant. We really try to understand what all these things that we changed and how they impact the restaurant experience. I think another thing that is important is that artificial intelligence, it's intelligent, but a bit slow. So it needs a lot of data and it needs time. So the metrics that I'm showing is from the restaurant. It's a period of 9 months. And what you can see is how the average guest goes up at the same pace as percentage of sales of alcohol goes up, and how cost of labor and cost of products go down. As we start learning, and the machine keeps implementing new things, and we start changing things in the environment. So it takes time. Now over to some actionable insights that are here today. This is not the future. Everything that I talk about is available today. The first impression. So this is our pizza box. And the first impression really matters. We actually took a pizza box, and the first thing you touch is silk. So it appeals to all the senses. The friction when you open the pizza box is the same friction when you open an Apple product. If you open an iPhone, there's a suction that talks about premiumness. What we did is that we took exactly the same pizza and put it in our box, and then put it in a just nondescript brown regular pizza box. And then we asked focus groups how much they will be paying for the different products. And the result is that they would be willing to pay 27% more for the same product in our box versus the regular brown box. Not only that, people say we were crazy. It was, we were a one-unit restaurant with no scales whatsoever. So each box is €1. And everyone told us that we were crazy. But it's actually a marketing budget. That box is on 80% of our Instagram feed. Of every customer, or every 100 customers that ordered the pizza, 80 of them post a picture online of them with the pizza box. Design matters. It's not only about technology. A lot of the challenges of fast casual, as you can see in the market, is ambiance. A lot of fast casual, great for lunch, but it's not a place. You don't take your fiancé to Chipotle for dinner. right? It's convenience for lunch, but you're not capturing the dinner part. And one of the biggest challenges that fast casual has is liquor sales. So if you take a comparable concept that does pizza in a very similar price point that we have, they have a system-wide 2% liquor sales. In our concept in Stockholm, we're doing 21%. On any given Friday, we are able to sell 30 bottles of champagne in a pizza place where you can eat for $10. So design matters. We use design to trigger consumer behavior in a big way. We also play a lot with the actual product and try to learn how the perception is. So when we moved, we actually do pizzas and salads because we wanted to benchmark two different products. And we understood that water and air is the cheapest thing that you could add and get the perception of more value to customers. So when we moved from bowls to plates, the food looks much more abundant. And our customers were saying that they thought it was 15% more food. So take that with you. We eat with our ears. This was a study we did with McDonald's in Stockholm. We took 25 restaurants that we used as a test, and then 25 that we benchmarked against. The research was done with Pew Research. And the increase in sales and the difference in sales was 9.1 overall between playing different types of music. And the difference is, and some of the learnings that we did, is that we played 4 different things. We played Spotify Top 1000. So not bad music, just regular music, music that people listen to. We compare that with having no music in the restaurant. And that wasn't easy to convince McDonald's to have no music in 25 restaurants. Then we did a mix of music that fit the brand persona, that was brand fit. So that was 50% brand fit music and 50% popular music. And then we did 100% of that. The differences here is not only do sales increase when you have brand fit music, but also the type of product increases depending on the music you play. So not only from the type of music, but also the energy and the volume affect the amount of sales that you can do. And the more you can have your customers stay, the more high-margin products you sell. We also did a research with Dr. Biswis of the University of South Florida in Stockholm, and it was around music. So we played music at 55 decibel, which is a low conversation, and then we played it at 70 decibel, which is a vacuuming machine. So the difference is actually that when you play the same music at a significantly higher pitch, customers are more willing to order unhealthy food. You're going to sell more pizzas and you're going to sell more burgers with high volume than with low volume. Very interesting. Not only that, we worked with something we call the vibe algorithm. So we programmed the machine with all these learnings. And basically what we do is that we measure in real time how many guests, and when we say guests, is phones, are in the restaurant. And depending on how many guests we have in the restaurant, depending on the day part and depending on our sales on that day, we trigger with their behavior. So we can have them stay longer and therefore sell more desserts and upsell, or we can have a bigger throughput if we just have maximized capacity of the restaurant. We also make sure that when you program the ambiance that you want in the restaurant, most of you already do it. So for lunch, I'm going to play at this volume, and for dinner, I'm going to create this volume. But what you want to do is you want to have that feeling for lunch, and lunch starts with 1 guest in the restaurant and ends up with 300 guests in the restaurant. You cannot have the same volume. So what we actually do is dynamic volume control. We control the music, the energy, and the pitch of the music in real time, depending on how many guests we have and what is the business outcome that we want to have. Another thing that we've played a lot with is scent. So we have artificial scent in the restaurant. And to our surprise, when we changed from wood fire oven scent to fresh basil, our salad sales went up 13%. Just by changing the scent. So what we are actually able to do now is We know that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we sell more salads than pizzas. We have fresh basil. And on Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday, where we're more indulgent, we have the wood-fired oven. So we can trick that, and we can play with what we want our guests to do. We also have real-time light control. So we performed a study with the University of Stockholm around how light impacts consumer behavior. And as you know, in Stockholm, we have a lot of dark months, etc. So what we have now is light sensors on the facade, and we actually tweak and change the mood of the restaurant in real time, because what consumers were telling us is that when it's really sunny outside, I don't want to go into a cave, into a very dark restaurant. And when it's very dark outside, I don't want to go into a very bright restaurant. So we adjust that in real time. Knowing all these data gives us actionable insights in terms of location-based marketing. So understanding where our customers go, both before and after visiting us, we can target them where they are. If we want to do a sponsorship, if we want to do something with the local community, we can really target them where they are, not just in a radius around the restaurant. We can also do event-based marketing. So we can put up alerts when we see if there's a certain amount of our core customers that are congregating somewhere for whatever reason, we can learn from that and understand where they are. We've tried geofenced order management. Not everything are successes. I like sharing failures as well. We thought this was really, really cool. So you could, in the app, you order your pizza, and you said, I'm going to pick it up in 15 minutes. And then right the moment before you're going to walk out the door, your boss calls you, and you have to stay for a conversation, and you're going to be 10 minutes late. So basically what we did is geofencing system that we only triggered the pizza into the oven when you were 70 meters away from the restaurant. So as you walked into the restaurant, your pizza was smoking hot on the shelf, even if you were late. Consumers did not activate it. They did not want to have the geotag. So everything we do without consumers knowing really work. It's very tough to have customers accept TrackMe. I still think it's a really cool device, but anyway. As of 2 weeks ago, we actually tested a new feature, and we constantly test. And by the way, if any one of you wants to test something, just come. We'll be happy to run the test for you. That's the purpose of the restaurant. So we tested something called Flick. So one of the learnings is that, because it is a fast casual, you have to go up to the counter and order. What we were seeing on Friday nights and Saturday nights is that a group of friends were sitting, having a round of beers, and then someone had to walk up from the table and order, and then a lot of our guests left. Say, you got to go up anyway, so let's go somewhere else. So we installed a button called Flick, and Flick is a Bluetooth-connected button that you can tell it to do whatever. You can program it to do whatever. In our case, we have a little brass plate that we put on the tables on Friday and Saturday nights. It says, press me for drinks. And when you press that button, our floor manager gets an alert on the Apple Watch and can go directly and take the order and bring the booze to the table. That increased our liquor sales those days by 9%. Very, very simple technology. But being where your customers are is important. We use predictive analysis, so understanding all those learnings, we are able to apply this to staffing and scheduling. So if it's going to be a high peak, you want to have your aces in their places. If it's going to be a slower day, you want to have more versatile team members in that. We're also able to do predictive analysis because we capture the heat maps in how the restaurant is set up. So a lot of restaurants have a lot of 4 tops and 6 tops, but still your average guest is 2.4. But your average guest count might be different for lunch than for dinner. So now we're able to send the manager a PDF version of how the restaurant should be laid out so they can maximize the throughput capacity. So they know that for tomorrow's lunch, you should have 40% 4 tops, 20% 2 tops, etc. So we're able to maximize butts in seats rather than think how many seats we have in the restaurant. We did this exercise with a very large US chain, and we're able to increase the throughput in the restaurant by 6%. So reduce the amount of people waiting and optimizing the seats. We've done some initial tests very early about AI-driven inventory and sourcing. So starting with something very simple like cans of beers, right? Having the engine tell us, okay, this is the amount of sales based on all the data I have. This is my prediction of how many beers you're going to sell. I understand with RFID tags how many beers I have in store. I can understand that I'm only going to do a weekly delivery or bi-weekly delivery. I can then predict and order, make sure that I'm never going to run out of stock. But also I can be smarter in how much space I need for back-of-house stocking and understand that. It's simple with cans of beers. It's really challenges with boxes of tomatoes. So we haven't figured out everything, but it's definitely something that we're going to keep on looking into. Of course, there's a lot of delivery. This is actually a picture from a real restaurant. We've now managed to bring all the online orders directly into the KDS. So we've integrated with 23 different third-party delivery companies, and all goes directly into the POS and the KDS without having the manual disruption, which becomes both time-consuming and creates a lot of human errors. So we try to stay away from humans, and the whole idea is, how can we use technology to do all the boring stuff that a lot of our team members are doing in the restaurants, and therefore allowing our team members to focus on people? Because machines are very loyal, they're very smart, but they're not as good with people. So our team members can now focus on their own team members and their colleagues, but also on the guest, and leave all these boring stuff to the machine. To us, the beauty of this is that it's all invisible to the guest. So everything happens in the back end. You know, guests don't need to click, they don't need to download anything. It's all invisible to them. So our objective is really, okay, how can we create restaurants that are smarter, that are more efficient, that are more profitable, and that are more scalable? Because the beauty of machines is that they're very loyal. You just give them power, and they give you insights. Your team members, they rotate, they leave, your general managers, and when they leave, they take a lot of knowledge with you. And then allowing our team members to really focus on what's important, which is the guest. I don't think we have time for questions, but I'll be around both today and tomorrow, so feel free to reach out and follow discussions. We are? All right. Thank you.